Yay.
Hello, today is Wednesday, January the 22nd, and we are talking about Ron, the king of engagement. I saw Ron from another community that we were in, and then we ended up in a community that there's a whole bunch of people. And in this particular community, people that we had been there for a long time, all of a sudden, Ron, like he was like a wildfire in California. Like you couldn't put him out, right? And he was so engaging, and I approached him. I said, would you be willing to come and tell us your secrets? Tell us like what it is that you, because yes, of course, we all know like the basic stuff, but he has very specific things that he does, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull out of him all the secrets. So we're gonna be talking to Ron, and he's gonna be divulging the secrets about how to create massive engagement, and then especially if you are in digital marketing, or if you're in network marketing, or if you're a business owner and you just want to learn how to create more engagement from what you're posting yourself or within other places, because this is what's magical about Ron. Not only did he create massive engagements on posts that he made, he would get in trouble because he would create too much engagement on comments that he would make in other people. It's just the imagine getting in trouble for having too many people comment on your comment. I mean, anyway, so I don't want to take any more time because I am super excited. We've been trying to do this, I think, since last year. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass the stage over to you, Ron. And if you could first let us know a little bit about your bio, a little bit about your history, and then just go into it. And then at the end, if there's any Q&A that are posted in the chat, then I'll bring up those questions, and then it'll be a close. So take it away.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, you're right. We've been trying to do this for quite a while. In fact, I wasn't gray, I think, when we started. I don't know. I don't remember. One of the things that to kind of go back on my story, I got drafted during that little conflict during Vietnam back in 1970, and my first paycheck for an entire month was $79. And I knew that I was going to have to do something. I just left a job. I'm from Michigan. I left a job driving a forklift for $1,000 a month. And I knew that when I got back to the States, I was going to have to figure out a way to supplement my income. Well, I'm from Michigan, and I'd heard of this little company called Amway. And I thought, what an incredible concept that I can have success in business and in life and whatever I do by helping other people have success. Being a Christian and growing up, since I was a teenager in the church and becoming saved and following the Lord, I knew that was what had a passion for, but I never thought about it in a sense of making money and helping other people and so forth. So, long story short, I got out of the military and ended up going to work for the intelligence community as a civilian contractor, making a lot of money and not having to do my plan A. So my plan B was always to get out there and try network marketing, try affiliate marketing, try all these different things. Understanding that when I started all this, there was no internet. Your sphere of influence was, 10 blocks or 5 blocks, however much you wanted to walk, right? If you were really ambitious and you were building a big organization, you could drive to another state and meet people and have meetings and do all that stuff. But there was nothing like we have now. And be it, my education's in math and physics, so I'm a technical person and I enjoy, the science and technology and new innovations and things like that. So as soon as the internet really came about, and understand the internet's been around since the 60s, if not before, but when it came around in the World Wide Web back in the early 1990s, it opened up a whole new arena for everybody. And you had to start learning what we thought was different things. We thought we had to learn a different way to make connections and a different way to market and so forth, but we really didn't. The only thing that was different about what we were doing was the method, the mode that we were doing it in. And we talk about building connections and building relationships and getting that know, like, and trust. Well, in the old days, we did that same thing. We just didn't have the internet to do it. We had to do it face to face, one-on-one coffee shops, things like that. Well, when the internet and the World Wide Web came along, all of a sudden we could expand that scope and we could meet so many more people that it became a challenge. And it seemed like everybody and their neighbor was coming up with some new idea on how you market and how you do digital marketing. And digital marketing is just, again, a method of how you market, not the crux of what marketing is. It's just it's a vehicle to how to market, right? Because the marketing hasn't changed. So I started really getting into it in 2015. I retired from corporate world and was going to make my big splash. I'd had some success, but I had, 40 some years of experience and failing and succeeding. And uh, I got involved with a network marketing company that just started up. And I went to Las Vegas in 2017 for their grand opening. I was one of the founders, and I was having indigestion a lot. And I couldn't figure out what it was. My youngest son was a pilot in the Air Force stationed there in Vegas. So I stayed there for a weekend. And when I came back, this was Memorial Day 2017. When I came back, it hadn't gone away. And my wife, God bless her, finally said, "You're going to the hospital." And I went in to the emergency room and they said, "Well, you're not having a heart attack." I'm like, "Okay, good." And it doesn't seem like indigestion. Maybe you need some stents or something, but we better do an angiogram just to find out. And that was on a Monday. And I came to from that and I said, "Okay, well, how many stents?" And they're like, "No, no, 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 no. You're on life support. You've got three blocked arteries. You need open heart surgery." And that was on a Monday. They couldn't get to it till 6 o'clock Tuesday evening. And I remember waking up in the morning, early in the morning of Wednesday, and the cardiac surgeon there. And he said, "Well, went as well as could be expected. You didn't have three blocked arteries, you had five, and we could only fix four." And all of a sudden, my grandiose desire to become a network marketing guru and build a big organization, everything kind of was put on hold. And 3 months, that was in June, 3 months later, it was into my cardiac physical therapy at the hospital and had a minor heart attack. So then they had to go in because two of the grafts they put in collapsed and they had to put some stents in. Long story short, 2018, I got involved with the company. And I remember at that point in time talking to my mentor, who's now one of my closest friends in the world. And he's one of the top multimillionaires in network marketing. And I said, "Robert, what do I do?" And he said, "Say as little as possible to as many as possible, as quick as possible." I said, what a great concept. It's network marketing, it's any business, right? You're trying to get out there, you're trying to build connections. I said, "Okay, so what do you say?" And he said, "Well, as you say, as little as possible to as many as possible, as quick as possible." I said, "Robert, I understand that, but what do I say?" And he said, "You're not listening to me, Ron. You say as little as possible to as many as possible, as quick as possible." I'm like, "Okay, I'm losing it. Don't you have a script or something?" He's like, "No, no, you can't use the script." "Well, how do I know what to say?" And he said, "Well, I can't tell you that, because you need to learn some things about who you're talking to before you can know what to talk to them about." So I sat down, and at the time I remember doing 10 messages on Messenger, and I thought, "Yeah, I messaged 10 people." And yeah, that afternoon he laughed at me and said, "Come on, Ron." I said, "As many as possible." So I bumped it up to 20, then 25, then 40, then 50. By day two, I was doing 100. And I started doing 100 a day. And understand, I just got involved with this company. Okay. I'm now messaging 100 people a day. And I'm starting to develop the understanding and knowledge of who my target audience is, because I'm getting feedback from these 100 people, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. "Hey, this isn't something I'm interested in. Hey, this, oh yeah, I'd love to hear about it. And I was just saying a few things. "Look, I know your time is valuable, so is my time. I don't want to waste any of your time, but I want to know." But the clincher of it was I'd actually go out to their profile first on Facebook and look at what's going on. Hey, I noticed you just had a grandbaby. Congratulations and all. We got to catch up sometime. But right now, I want to ask you one simple question. If you would be open to looking at something that could generate some extra income in your life. If not, that's okay. But regardless if you do or you don't, let's set up a time to get together. Right. And it was a short text, but this is what it was. Some people would come back and say, not interested. Some people wouldn't come back at all. But when you're doing 100, all of a sudden, I didn't know where I was going to go from here because I was getting so many responses, and I couldn't keep up with 100. Right? 19 days later, I had rank advanced 6 ranks in the company. I'd made over $10,000 already. And within 6 months, I'd built an organization of just under 100,000 people. And I don't have it here with me, but they sent a crew out to take photos and videos of us. And because of how fast we ranked, I ended up being able to speak on stage and so forth. So we had this great success, and it was all about building connections. And I had people coming up to me and saying, "Ron, man, how did you do this so fast?" I said, "I know, it only took 50 years. It's amazing." Right? Because they thought that there was some magic that all of a sudden, I come on the scene and, oh, look at, what are you doing? Can we learn it too? I said, yeah, anybody can learn this. Here's what it's going to take, right? Well, we ended up making a lot of money in that company, and I left that company and went to another one, and we did the same thing again. In fact, I think our organization was a little bit bigger at that point. And then I decided, you know what? I want to start teaching people. I want to do something that I've always loved to do, and that's teach and pass it on and help people. So I got out of network marketing. I got out of anything other than creating my own courses and doing a lot of coaching and so forth. And that's kind of what I've been doing up until just recently. And I'm still doing that. I'm not back in network marketing, but I'm doing some other things. But I had met Maria in another business that was started with a couple that are, again, one of my closest friends. We talk all, except for they call me dad, so I'm not sure about that. But we were introduced to a community, and in that community there was something in there that I thought, oh, this is kind of cool because this is what I always do. They've got a gamification based on building connections. I thought, what a great idea. And I looked at, what the requirements were and what you had to do and everything. I thought, oh yeah, that's okay and everything. But you know what? I want to build fast connections, and I want to, get recognized, not because it's going to make me some money, but because if people know who I am and they see what I am and what I can do, maybe they'll reach out and it'll allow me to help some more people. It'll bring some more people in. So I just started going crazy. And I noticed that there was a lot of people that were trying to do the same thing, trying to run up the ranks and and they were just going out and saying, "Oh, amen. Okay, yeah, love it." Just, a couple of words and sentences every so often. And that's not building connections in my mind. It's not listening to people. It's not doing what you need to do to find out the things that I know really are what connections are all about and what building your business is all about. So I just started putting out posts. I'd put out quotes. I'd answer people's, questions. And eventually I went from 0 to level 8 in a month and a half. And to this day, I don't think anybody's broken that record at all or even come close to it. I had people that were saying, well, I'm going to beat your record. And it just, yeah, didn't happen. But understand, I'm not telling you that because that's important. I could have been a level 6. I could have been a level 4 and done the same thing. The important part about it is that I was able to jump into a system, and because of all the things that God has allowed me to learn over the last 50 years, since 1970, however many years that is, I was able to create a lot of connections, meet a lot of new people, thousands of new people, as a matter of fact, and start having some success. It's something hadn't been involved with before. So that's when Maria and I connected back up again and started chatting about it. But I put together, and I want to, before I forget, I put together a cheat sheet, a checklist, if you will, on kind of what I did and what it's all about. And if any of you want it, you just go to rondeering.com/, business, building connections, and it's just a freebie you can grab. But they're basically, and I want to touch on these real quick. There are it, it, one of the main things that I've discovered over the last 50 years is how important building connections and solid relationships are with your audience. If you don't do that, your business is never going to grow to where it needs to be.
At your front door.
If you're all about the money, and that's what it looks, we used to have a saying in network marketing that you don't want your prospects thinking that you're looking at them like you're the next steak dinner, right? So you can't, they're going to find it out. They're going to spot you a mile away, and most likely they're going to run in the other direction. So you need to understand who you're talking to, who they are, and the pain that they have, and what place you fit in that relationship, right? So you need to know who the hero is and who the and what you can offer as the guide, right? So there's these 7 things that I think are important. First, you need to identify your target audience. And when I say identify your target audience, um, don't tie it to a demographic. I ask people this all the time, and I'll hear, well, I want to work with single moms because I'm a single mom, or I want to work with, and I did this for years. I want to work with veterans because I'm a veteran. I come from a family of veterans. And I didn't realize until probably about 5 or 6 years ago that, excuse me, when I had somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, Ron, I love what you're doing, but I'm not a veteran. Can I use it too?" I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. It's not about their demographic. It's about what their pain is and what I have as a solution. And if those 2 things go together, then it's a match, right? Then it's a fit. But if they don't, it doesn't matter. So I need to know who my target audience. For me, a good kind of elevator speech is, I love working with people who have a passion and want to turn that passion into profit so they can do what they love for the rest of their life, right? That doesn't mean people that want to learn Chinese cooking. Doesn't talk about people that want to lose weight and things like that. But you know who exactly you are. The second thing is you need to know who your what your target audience's pain points are, what their challenges are, because that is the most important thing to them. And if they're going to be the hero, they need to know that whoever they choose as a guide understands what they're suffering from, right? I don't go to, when I had my heart issues, I didn't go to a pediatrician. I went to someone that knew what my challenge was, what the things that I was going through, right? Oh, by the way, just so you understand why I'm an A-type personality, after I had my open heart surgery and the cardiac surgeon was sitting there, he said, "Ron, what questions can I answer for you? I know a lot of people want to know what medication, what food you got to take and all that." And I said, "No, when can I get out of here?" And he said, "Oh, okay. That's a new one, but if you do what the nurses say." Well, the nurses told me I had to walk at least 2 times a day. Well, I got up and I was walking 4 and 5 times a day. And 3.5 days later, they let me out of the hospital. So it's knowing what you got to do. It's knowing where the pain is. And then third is making sure you have the solution for their pain. Okay. Because it doesn't do any good if the thing that you know how to do and the thing that you may love to do, the person you're talking to doesn't need, right? So you need to know who they are, where their pain is, make sure you have the solution. Number 4 is got to figure out where they hang out. And this is, I think, the biggest thing that I see people not really understanding. We get taught that got to go on TikTok, you got to go on Instagram, you got to go here, you got to go there. And then you get out there, and I did that. I went on TikTok for a while. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't my audience. These aren't people that would want to work with me or I'd want to work with necessarily. There's not even the people I want to work with aren't even on TikTok, right? So I got off TikTok, figured out, oh, wait a minute, they're all on YouTube. And now my business is growing faster than I want right now, but growing again, right? Because I know who my audience is, I know where their pain is, and I know I have a solution for it. But on Facebook, I was on Instagram, and I'm not saying those aren't good platforms. They are, but they have their purpose. I only use them to generate leads to go to where I want them to go, right? Number five is pick maybe one or two platforms. And what I'd like to teach people is YouTube is a long-term platform. Social media is a fast-moving, very short-term, and very hard to build from scratch. But you can use it to build up your YouTube while you're doing that. Now, the most, and number seven is the most important of these. Number six is start creating value-based content about your solution. I see this so many times where people are putting up videos and it's, hey, buy my thing, I can help you out. Buy my thing, buy my thing, buy my thing, right? Instead of it being, don't worry about buying anything right now, put your wallets away. I'm going to give you some free training. I'm going to teach you the best of what I have. Give away your best stuff, give away the best value you have, and make sure you target it to the people that need it, that are feeling that pain that you have the solution for. Don't worry about anybody else. Quick story with a good friend of mine, close friends of mine that live in the Fort Myers, Tampa Bay area. She was pregnant with her first daughter, and she wanted to go to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor was 46 miles away. And her husband, being a good husband, said, okay. And if you know Western Florida, Florida all over the place, there are chiropractors in every strip mall out there. There's chiropractors like California. He gets there and he notices that they're pulling into a parking lot where the chiropractor is, and across the street is another strip mall that's got another chiropractor, but that parking lot is kind of empty. The parking lot that they're moving into is packed. They go into the waiting room of the chiropractor they're going to, and it's packed, standing room only. They get done with their uh, appointment, and this guy's a multi-million dollar marketer and so forth, and he's actually one of my uplines in one of the first network marketing companies I was in. So he couldn't help himself. He had to go ask the doctor, "What did you have special training or whatever?" He said, "No, I got the same training as the guy across the street, the guy down the 2 blocks away or whatever." But here's what I did one day. I woke up and I said, "You know what? I'm going to niche down to a specific point." And he said, "I became the chiropractor to expecting mothers." My business exploded. I don't have any special training compared to anybody else, but because I niched down to that specific there and only answered their challenges, his business exploded. He had to open 2 more offices to help the people that weren't expecting, like me, even though some days I look like it, but I'm not. But that's the power in that, because he knew exactly who he wanted to help. He knew exactly how he could help them, and that's how he stayed focused and targeted those. And he gave them value, right? And number seven is build your email list. From all of this, build your email list, build your email list, build your email list. There is nothing more important than that asset in your business. This past Christmas, 40 to 60% of all purchases at Christmas time were done through email. Only 12% were done through social media. Why is that? Because it's targeted. The people that are on our email list know, like, and trust us. We can build that relationship up. It's not noisy. It's not overwhelming. It's not fast. If you've ever bought anything from Amazon, they're a perfect example of that. You get those emails that say, "Hey, I noticed you bought this. You might like this too," right? And we go, "Well, you know what? I've had a good experience with Amazon. Sure, let me check that out," right? And I buy. They know that. If you look at the big companies out there, just about any entrepreneur that's making any kind of money, social media is an afterthought down at the bottom of their websites. But what you will see is, hey, 20% off your next purchase. Give me your name and email. Hey, how about this free ebook? Give me your name and email. Give me your name and email. Give me your name and email. Why is that? Because they know. In fact, I was just listening to a gentleman, Graham Cochran, a few hours ago, and he was doing a short YouTube short. And he and his wife both have individual multi-million-dollar businesses online, and they don't work past 30 hours a month. And on their social media, which they really don't use that much, they made an agreement with each other that he has no women on his social media account and she has no men. Now, guys, we know that women are much better at being entrepreneurs, and if we don't have any women on our social media, we ain't making any money yet. He shut his social media down for 1 year, deleted the apps, didn't use it, didn't get on it, didn't have anything to do with it, and his business went up 20%. Why? Because he had an incredible email list. He had built that relationship up there, and it didn't need any of that, and he owned it. Those of you who don't know, in the United States here, we're fighting the battle that TikTok may go away. I don't even think about it. I feel bad for my friends that are focused on TikTok and that's where they've got everything. But the reality is, and statistically wise, TikTok is the least converting program out there. It gives you the least return on your efforts and your money, and YouTube gives you the most. But what gives you the most out of all of those is your email, right? So just remember that building those relationships are all about knowing who you want to talk to. If I went to a group that was all about cooking, and I love to cook and I love Chinese food, so that's probably not a good example, but I'm not an expert at it or anything like that. So for me to build up a relationship with people where I'm going to be able to use that to eventually help them out would be very, very difficult. But if you want to talk about technology and marketing and and automations and what's that new thing that I can't remember, AI and stuff like that, then I know all that stuff and I know how I can help people and I know how I can take people from zero to hero and I can talk to them and I can come down to their level. People get caught up, and I'll end with this, but people get caught up with the idea that you got to build rapport. You got to build rapport. I remember being taught that on social media. You got to build rapport. One of the first ever marketing lies that I heard was back in 1970 when my upline in Amway said, Ron, I'm going to teach you the 3-foot rule. And the 3-foot rule is anybody that came within 3 foot of you is a possible prospect. And I did that for a year. I would go into malls and hang out and walk up to people in my head, measure 3 feet. Okay, I can talk to them, right? It doesn't work that way. When I finally figured out that everybody that's a prospect are the people that I have taken the time to understand who my target audience is, they are a prospect. I know people in network marketing to give out samples to everybody, just hoping one of them will stick, and it doesn't work. Once you know who you're talking to, building those connections should be fun. If you fall in love with that process, divorce yourself from the results, don't even care about it. I remember in the group that Maria and I were in, I had people reaching out to me every day. How many do you got? How many do you got? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. When you going to make level 7, I think was the big one for me first. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know where to look. I'm just, people are commenting on my comments like crazy. And I was just overwhelmed. And then next thing I know, someone reached out and said, man, you're almost a level 8. You've already passed 7. I'm like, what? You're going to be the fastest level 9. I was like, I truly, honestly was flabbergasted and overwhelmed because that wasn't my goal. I just wanted to, maybe get to level 6 and get out there and try to help as many people as I can. But how did that happen? One magic button tip that always works. I was in Army Special Forces when I got drafted. One of the first things you have to do is learn how to jump out of a plane. Jumping out of a plane for most of us is scary. But I remember when I was in jump school down in Georgia, I asked they were called the Black Hats and the Jump Master, and I asked the Jump Master, I want to be first in line. First in line meant you were in a C-130 and they opened up the hatch and you had to put your hands on the outside skin of the airplane at 1,250 feet and look down at the ground, knowing that you were just going to jump out of this perfectly good airplane and hope your parachute jumped. And I was scared to death. And I jumped. And it's like, oh, this isn't so bad. Got up, went back up, said we had to do 5 of them. I want to be first in line for all 5 of them. My fear was gone because I took massive action. I ended up getting my skydiver certifications and jumping hundreds and hundreds of jumps. But there was only one secret to it. I figured out what I was afraid of and I took massive action. When you're building connections and you're reaching out to people, reach out to a lot. whatever you're doing in your business, reach out to a lot, but don't do it haphazardly. Reach out to a lot of people with intention. Make sure that you are honestly, truly reaching out to people and wanting to know what's going on. I think if I had to give that success in that community, it was because I was truly, honestly wanting to know what the people were like and what was going on in that community. And I was always engaging. And I had a lot of people ask me, what do you do? I mean, do you have any time at the end of the day? And what they didn't know is it only took me about 2 hours a day, maybe. But you just learn. You become strategic in what you're doing and you learn how to do it and you can act. So, all right. Yeah, and a lot of this I explained in the PDF, so be my guest to grab it and you can download that and do what you like with it. In fact, if you want to rebrand it and use it as your own, be my guest. So,
Well, thank you, Ron. That was super helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and ask you quite a few questions because I am sure that a lot of people will have some of these questions
okay.
because I know my people. So one of the things is that I love that you gave us, the 7 steps, and I love that you gave us the history so that that we could understand. Like, I wouldn't want to go to a chiropractor. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to um, a heart surgeon when I'm having a baby, right?
Mhm.
So I do understand that, but probably the beginner is thinking, okay, well, Ron, you said that you've been doing this for 50 years, so of course you're gonna know how to do this. How does someone who is just starting out get to know who their audience is and get to know how to engage? Because guilty, right? Love it. I see something and I say, I love it, right? So how do we get away from just what can we say instead of love it that would be more engaging? And then in as you answer that question, the other part of the and then by the way, everybody, if you have questions, just drop it in the comments and then I'll pick up your questions. Um, and then when you were saying that you only did this about 2 hours a day, the amount of work that you were doing, right? The amount of comments that you were responding, the amount of posts that you were making. To me, it looked like you were there all day. So I want to know how was it that you were able to do it in just 2 hours? If you can give us a breakdown of that, and then what is it that a beginner that doesn't have 50 years of experience, how do they go about knowing who their person is? How do they find it? Right? And how do they actually engage back if what they mean to say is, I love it, but as you and I both know, that's actually deemed the um, not valuable messages, because I've been guilty of that, even though I sincerely mean it. Or sometimes I'll say, that's a beautiful blessing, because that's something that I often say because
Mhm.
I truly believe that, but that is also considered not a valuable response. So I would love for you to break down those 3 things if that's possible.
Absolutely. Get to 73 years old, then you'll have 50 years experience. No, don't do that. I don't wish that on anybody. Um, the reality is that when I tell you that I've got 50 years experience, I'm not joking. I literally started in 1970 and I've been learning all along. My corporate career, I was a VP of operations of a almost close to $1 billion company. So I've got a lot of experience in leadership and everything else. But what I found is that didn't make any difference. Okay. Because the two things I realized I needed to know was, one is I needed to know who I was. I needed to know what my vision and mission were. And your vision is that thing that drives you, because you're all gonna, I will tell you, I got up this morning and I did something to my shoulder and I am sitting here right now in excruciating pain. Um, but that said, I took some Tylenol and it's getting better as we speak. But the reality is that you're gonna have days like that. You're gonna have days that you get up and things aren't going the way you want, and you gotta get up and keep going, right? And if you don't know what your vision is, who you want to be, your vision is that future you, who you want to become, who you want to impact, what you want to do. It may be something as simple as I want to become this person in a year and I want to impact 100 people's lives. But my vision is this is what I want to do, and this is who I want to become. And my mission is how I'm going to accomplish that. So you need to know those two things about yourself, because if you don't, then no matter what, you're not going to know what you have to offer people. And then the second thing is just like Maria said, you've got to know who your target audience is. And if you're struggling with understanding who your target audience is, I found that the best way for me to decide is to figure out what it is I can offer as a solution. What is it that I know? What is it that I can do? What is it that I can bring to the table? And don't put those clamps around it that say, well, yeah, but who's going to want to know that? Right? Because I've seen people make a lot of money with something as simple as, hey, I'm going to show you how to clean your glasses. I'm going to show you how to do something that I learned that you might not know. Right? I used to wear glasses, so it just came into my head. So, um, if you haven't had cataract surgery, it's amazing. I don't need glasses anymore. But so you've got to figure out what it is that you can do, right? And I will tell you, I've had people come to me and hire me as their coach. One gentleman, they had an autistic child. And what he was really good at, he and his wife, was raising that autistic child. And that's what he wanted to do. So guess who his target audience was? Parents with autistic children, right? You need to know what it is that you can do and don't put any restrictions on it by thinking that, yeah, but who's going to want to know how to do that, right? Because how many
So
people does it take? It doesn't take a lot. You think about it. If you've got a list, I know a gentleman on YouTube that I've been communicating with. He's got a list of 1,000 people in his email list, and he makes multiple seven figures a year because he's got the right information and he created a community that people pay $100 a month, 250 or 500. And almost 100% of those 1,000 people at $100 a month, that's 100 grand a month, right? That's over $1 million a year. He doesn't work more than 30 or 40 hours a month because he knew what he could offer. It wasn't baking, it wasn't maybe technology, but it was marketing and how to maybe do YouTube or something like that. You know, and you've got to know what it is that you can do that you can offer people. Now, what a lot of people do is they get involved with something hoping to have that success in it. And that may just not be something that you're good at. It may not be something that you can really talk to. When I first started in network marketing, I didn't know anything about Amway soap. I was a killer. I mean, I didn't know anything about Amway soap. I was in the military and we didn't care about Amway soap, right? So I had to make a decision. Do I learn about it? Or do I learn how to sell it, and get good at that? So I had to learn something. And it took years and years and years for me to learn that because I kept trying to do things that I didn't know about. I kept putting aside those things that I really could offer as a solution. Okay. Now, once you know what solution you have, now you can pin down your target audience, right? It's like that chiropractor. He knew that his solution was he can get rid of the pain, he can adjust you and everything else, but he knew that a lot of his patients that were having the most trouble were pregnant women, right? So he said, you know what? I've got the solution for that. I never thought about it before, but I'm going to market it like that. So think about you first and what you have to offer because you're going to be the guide. If you have not read the book Building Your Story Brand by Donald Miller, I can't recommend it enough. Building Your Story Brand by Donald Miller. He goes through that whole framework of the hero, the hero's challenges, the guide, the call to action, all of the things that you need with that. But you need to know who your hero was. A good example is Star Wars, right? The hero was Luke Skywalker. He encountered a really bad thing, right? They killed his aunt and uncle, and could burn down whatever occupation he had, and all of a sudden, in walks Obi-Wan Kenobi. My grandkids call me Obi-Wan. I don't know where they got that from, but and he's the guide. He doesn't want to be the hero, but he knows he has a solution. and the Force. So he takes him on. He says, come on, you got to come with me, become a Jedi. If you do, the Rebel Alliance wins. If you don't, they lose, right? That's marketing in a nutshell. You're telling that story. So you need to know that. Now, how do you answer the love it? And I love that, Marie, when you say, this is a blessing. And every time I see that, but sometimes you just say, there were times when I would just say amen to that. That's awesome. I would love to try that out, right? But a lot of other times I would try to look at, okay, what did they really say here? What is it that they're really trying to get across in their post or in their comment? And I would, in my head or online, I would go out and think, okay, I can't remember what the quote exactly was, but let me see if I can find that quote that'll tie it all together for me. So I might, find that quote. They might be talking about, well, what if nobody likes me? So, oh yeah, that reminds me, Steve Martin, be so good they can't ignore you, right? And you would be amazed that that's just that simple quote or simple response in addressing exactly where they're coming from. Okay. Turn that comment that I made into 20 or 30 people commenting on it. Right. So understand that when you're commenting back and forth and putting out value, that you want to look at value that you can offer to that person. A lot of times I'll switch places with them. If I'm the one that said that, what would I want someone to say to me? Right? Would I want them to just say, love it, right? Which I don't have any problem with that. Or would I want them to give me some other encouragement with it? And it's okay to say, I had somebody, I remember this one distinctly for some reason because it ended up with a really lot of comments on the comment. But I took their post and amplified it for them in a sense of, you know what? You might try this. This might help you because it was something that I knew that I could give, right? It was something that I had taken the time. I knew what I could offer as a solution. I knew what they were saying. They were kind of overthinking it and making it a little bit hard. So I just gave them a small comment saying, hey, you might try this. I found that this is good, but well, you're on the right track, right? You always want to encourage people. So when somebody tells me that, oh, we really don't want you, saying thank you or yeah, that's good or anything else, that's it. You're just trying to beat the algorithm. That's a bunch of hogwash. The biggest thing you can do to encourage people is give them attaboys and attagirls. They need to know that they're going down the right path, even if they're not going down the exact right path, but at least they're doing the right thing, right? You need to encourage them. And sometimes just a pat on the back, right? If you have kids, you know that. Sometimes just grabbing your kid and saying, man, I'm so proud of you. You did a good job today. Even though maybe they didn't give it their all. Maybe they didn't go down the right path or they do everything perfectly, right? But you've got to be sure that you're just looking, don't overthink it, just think of it as a conversation. What would you want to hear if you were on the other side? What would really touch your heart if that somebody could say to you if you were the person putting the comment out and now you're the commenter? So you got
Well,
to know yourself. You got to know who your hero is. You got to know what you have to offer so that you can talk to the right people. There were a lot of, Maria will tell you, there was what, 67,000 people in that group or something? I don't remember. There was a lot.
well, the numbers changed, but at that time there was 87,000, 89,000 at that time, and then
89,000.
yeah, and so
So
it changed.
there's no way I could talk to all those people.
But my question, Ron, is so because I'm not your norm. Like I would prefer someone to just give me like a short sentence. I don't want to read a whole paragraph. And I
Yep.
feel, so like when you say, well, do what you would want. Well, I don't want I don't prefer to read a lot. So to me, when I see long paragraphs or like where you have to like read more. So my question still remains, how do you go about reading all the text, because some of the stuff that you were reading, they were very extensive long posts,
Yeah.
and then Now you have to go and read all the posts, all the comments that people were giving you back. If you made a if you made a valuable post or a valuable comment, now everybody was engaging in the same way you were engaging, which means a lot of words. Which that's that I don't prefer that. I don't like that, but I know that it obviously is what people need, because we're talking about how you went from zero to hero, in a very short time. And what I'm curious is, how did you manage to do all of that? Because again, it doesn't apply to me, because I don't prefer that, but I know that I'm not normal. Does that make sense?
Well, but you are. I'm not a big reader either, but I am very good at scanning.
Right, but what I'm saying is, how were you able to manage, not just for me, but for the people that are going to be listening to this? Because I understand, um, say what you would want to hear, but how did you do it to where you were being able to respond to multiple posts, and including multiple comments, because you were all over the community that we're talking about, with 89,000 people, that a lot of people were drawn to you, and they want, you made a post and immediately a lot of people were commenting, and then you made a comment and immediately, so a comment requires more comments. So
Mhm.
my question is, like, I'm trying to figure out, and I know that will be a question on the replay, is how did you manage to do it in just 2 hours?
Well, I probably should be a little more transparent. When I say 2 hours, it probably went to two and a half some days, three some days, less than that. But and I wouldn't necessarily do it all at the same time. I would do it throughout the day, and I would pick and choose, and I would look at, if I put a post out, I would look at the comments, and some of them a lot of the people commenting were going, "Oh yeah, thank you for sharing this, thank you for doing this, thank you," and those were easy to comment again. So every comment that people put out wasn't necessarily recommentable, if that's a word. I don't know that that's a word, but so I had to take the time to look at it. Part of that just comes from the fact that if you're out there doing it, I guess I want to say, don't worry if it takes you 4 hours in the beginning, but don't make it your job. Okay, don't make it your job. Pick and choose who you're going to talk to. Don't put a time. Don't try to necessarily do it fast. Just be consistent and do it. A lot of people, and I don't know if you noticed this, but I saw a lot of people that within this ecosystem, if you had a certain amount of activity every day for 30 days, you got a flame, right? And I think I asked you, how do you get that, right? And it was like, if you had 10 activities in a day, you got a dark green square that day, and that counted. And if you did that for 30 days, you immediately got a fire behind your name. And I'm like, oh, okay. But and those, all you got to do is like 10 times, boom, you're good for the day. And this just blew me away, that people were saying, I'm not in that community anymore because I closed down my community. But I remember even up until the last few days, people saying, "Oh man, I just lost my flame. I guess I got to start all over again." How do you lose your flame when all you got to do is click 10 times? How do you do that? Right? Because it's not that important to you. It's not in the focus of consistency in what you want to do. And if it's not, then you got to start looking and reevaluating and saying, okay, what is it that I need to do? The reason I decided to go to level 8 eventually, and that did become a goal. I was like, okay, I'm doing this in less than 2 months. I got in on August 10th, I think, and I made it in on October 2nd or something like that. But it then became a reason, because I had people wanting me to do it. I had people kind of asking me and cheering me on and so forth. So it became something that I wanted to show that you could do it. And I had people in the administrative side reaching out and saying, no, no, don't. don't do that. Don't, people will get the wrong idea. I don't know what the wrong idea is, but and I don't know if it was my age or what, but the reality is what came out of it, even if you get to level 5, even if you get to level 4, if you are connecting with people and taking more time on giving them reasonable answers, just think about it for a second. It's like when I was telling you about, we used to be taught all the time that build rapport first before you pitch people, right? When I had open heart surgery, I had up on my Facebook profile me with tubes in my mouth, tubes coming out of my chest, wires everywhere, and I did a Facebook Live, right? A day after that, I had two or three people reach out to me on Messenger saying, "Hey, Ron, just wanted to touch base with you. I hope things are going good for you. I hope life is good and everything. I just want to know if you'd be interested in looking at something." I was blown away. It's like, have you looked at my Facebook profile? I just had quadruple bypass. What do you mean, am I doing okay? Do I want to look at something, right? I didn't say that to him, but I just kind of chuckled and said, maybe you should look at my profile. So it's taken that time because I would go to someone's profile before, and it took me 30 seconds. I'd go to someone's profile, find out what they were doing. And it's something I forgot to tell. I'm glad you pushed me on this because that's something that I did in that community also. I would go and look on people's profile that were commenting and find out. Because if they had a profile with no activity in it, that they weren't doing anything, I would just typically say, great idea, or thanks for sharing, right? But if it was somebody that was already engaged and I could see they were already engaged and they had something in their profile. I remember this one lady, she was a veteran, former Air Force captain or something, and she had a family and everything. And I started off the comment with her was, "Hey, first I want to say thank you for your service." Right. And that generated a ton more. So knowing who you're talking to, you
But see that, okay, okay, okay. Wait a second. For the audience, right? I knew there was like
aha moment.
so here, for those that are not that didn't catch what he just said. So when he says, pick your audience, and Ryan, you can correct me, but I'm pretty certain that I'm correct on this. What I saw from my side is that Ron was responding to everyone, and I'm talking. These were probably hundreds of people, right? And when you're connecting to hundreds of people, I saw that Ron must be there all day long, which a lot of us were doing that for a moment, right? A lot of us were literally like we would sleep, eat, and do like all we would be doing would be this particular engagement. But what I don't know if you had that aha moment, like Ron said. What actually he did is that he actually looked at the people, and if people were like, I do the same thing, but I don't do it to the level that Ron has done. When I look at somebody and they haven't shown up on a particular place for 29 days, for 7 days, there's no reason for me to fully engage because they're not present. They don't care enough, right?
Yep.
So what I'm saying with Ron, that if the secret weapon is that you want to look at who your audience is, but also look at their activity. Look to see if it's a person that is completely not your kind of person that you would even want to be acquainted with, then you don't want to spend time or energy connecting and engaging and doing all the things that Ron just taught us, right? So he was picking and choosing, even though from the outside world, like what I was seeing, I thought that he was fully engaged, all in with every single human, right? But he was very strategic. And it took me this long. It took me 59 minutes to realize where he has like there's something that I'm missing. And then finally I got it. So Ron, I have a question. How can I start when I haven't done this before and I don't have an audience on social media? So this Carlos has he used to do it the old-fashioned way in multi-level marketing. He's still in multi-level marketing. He does have digital courses that teach him how to do it. But if you don't already have an audience and you're not good at social media and you're not good at tech, what would you recommend to someone who is not a young pup, right? He's seasoned like us, and he's never been on social media, and social media is not his forte. What, what social media would you recommend for him to get started with, and how does he go about choosing his audience when he's all about helping people travel for cheap and also travel the world?
I love it. I was in a lot of travel network marketing companies that they're fun. Um, did you say old guy? Is that what did I hear you say old guy?
No, I did not say
Season.
that.
I think it
I
was season. Yeah,
I said he's not a pup,
he's
but
not a pup. Okay.
he's seasoned like us.
Yeah.
You,
One
me,
from one non-pup to another, Carlos. Everybody, no matter what they want to tell you, has been in your position. When I first started on Facebook and that, I had no audience. In fact, I started on a thing called Periscope. I had no audience. I didn't know who I was talking to. You would do a minute, the 30-second to a minute video, and 5 minutes later it would be gone. And you just this was the beginning of like back in 2009, I think it was. But I was doing them all the time. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who my audience was. I didn't know any of that stuff. Okay. But here's what I did know. I knew I could do a video. I knew I could sit in front of the camera and talk. And I knew that someday someone would see that video I did the first time, and after they fell out and got up off the floor from laughing, they would look and say, wow, is that the same guy that was doing them then? So the question I have is, how fast do you want to go from here to here? Right? Because it's nothing new that you don't have a presence. You're not I'm not a big fan of social media anymore. And I've got probably, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 followers all throughout social media. But it's not where my audience is. It's not what I want to do. YouTube is a much better platform for me. But YouTube, there are people that say you can do faceless marketing and all of that stuff, right? I will tell you, I've talked to some of the big experts that have had success at that. Very difficult. They don't even recommend it, most of them. Because for me, I'll tell you that if I see someone, I go to someone's YouTube channel and it's faceless and they're trying to sell me something, there's no way that I'm going to purchase anything because we purchase with people that we know, like, and trust. So you've got to figure out where your fear factor is. Somebody and I love your name, Carlos, because my closest friend in the world is a gentleman by the name of Carlos Martinez. And I remember when Carlos came on board with me in 2018 with the network marketing company I was with, and he reached out and he said we'd been working together before, and he said, "Okay, Ron, I'm gonna jump on board. What do I need to do?" I said, "Carlos, you need to do Facebook Lives." Okay, what else? Don't make me do Facebook. I don't want to do Facebook. Don't. What else can I do? Can I do posts? And I said, "Yeah, you can do all that, but if you want to have success and you want to have it fast, you need to do Facebook Lives." Kicking and screaming, he started doing Facebook Lives. Remember I told you I did 6 ranks in 19 days? He did it in 17 days. People look at him when we ended up going to our first convention together for the company, and we were walking down the hallway, and people were rushing up to get selfies with us. And we're like, what is this all about? Where did it? Yeah, we've been watching your videos. We've been following you this whole time. Didn't reflect in the views. Didn't reflect in the people that showed up in the comments. Didn't reflect in any. There were a bunch of stalkers. But we impacted their lives, and we had no idea that they did it. It made a huge difference going back after that convention and realizing how powerful it is, whether I know what I'm doing or not. I get out there and start doing it. One of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar was, uh, "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great." And most people spend more time figuring out why they can't do it than just jumping in and saying, you know what? I don't know who my audience is right now. I'm going to talk from the heart. I'm going to talk about the solution I have. I'm going to just get out there, get in front of people so they know me. And look at me. I'm like a long-haired white guy. Normally, I have at this time of year, I have a beard out to here looking like Santa Claus. I'm about ready to finally, after, 5 years, get my teeth fixed. So I'll have nice teeth so I can smile next month. But if I let all of that stuff stand in the way, I would never do a video. And I've had people say, well, Ron, but you don't understand. Oh, yeah, I understand. I'm not here to look pretty. I'm here to give people some value that I can help them with. Once you get past that, and my kids to this day, they don't believe it. They can't believe when they found out I was doing, I used to do seminars in front of 2 or 3 thousand people on stage. And all they know about me is that when dad goes out, if we're in the mall and he sees somebody, he ducks into a store because I'm an introvert by nature. But you figure out that, okay, what is the biggest part of marketing? It's building know, like, and trust, building that connection. Well, how do I do that? I see Carlos. I look at Carlos. He's writing. He's, I feel like I know him already in this hour that we've been together, right? I see Rhonda. I know Marie, right? But I remember this, and she may or may not remember. One of the first times we got together, she didn't show her camera. I don't know if you remember that. And I remember thinking at the time, I forget what it was. It was an early meeting or something. Wow, she sounds really nice, but I don't know. And it had nothing to do with other than the fact that when we can see people, when we can, look at them, whether doesn't have to be live. And in fact, conversion rate, lives don't really convert as well anymore as just pre-recorded videos that you put up. So if you're having a challenge with it, record the video, don't go live, don't worry about subscribers, engagement, and all that other stuff. Just go out there and talk about what you have to offer. Don't pitch people, don't get them to try to buy something. If you watch any of my videos, and I've got like 12 YouTube channels now, but I've got one that I've just started really working on. But 99% of the time when I'm talking, I'm just giving somebody value, teaching them how to do something. At the end, I might say, hey, by the way, if you guys are interested in my free ebook, you can go to rondeering.com/, business connect, building connections, right? Or I've got one on storytelling and marketing through storytelling. Just go out to rondeering.com/storytelling, grab that free book. I think it'll help you out, right? But the rest of the time, I'm giving them information. I'm teaching them something. So eventually they're going, hey, you know what? I can't tell you how many people I've had, not because I'm good at it or a genius, but how many people I've had that have come from that community and have come from just other channels and things that they've seen me on and say, hey, go talk to Ron. He knows what he's talking about. He'll give you a bunch of free time, and da da da, right? That eventually equates into money and into clients and so forth. But you've got to be willing to put in the time. You've got to be willing to fall in love with the process. Too many people want to second guess it. They want to recreate it. There's nothing new under the sun. This is not new information. It's just I've been taught it over the years, and now I'm finding a lot of reinforcement from people that have been doing it a long time. And when Marie reached out to me, I'll be honest with you, I was honored, I was blessed, and I truly didn't know. I just thought, oh, doesn't everybody do this? But the reality is it isn't. And I will never tell anybody if you hear somebody telling you how good they are as far as how much money they make and all that stuff, ask them two questions. The first question, ask them, would you mind showing me your back office so I can verify it? 90% of them won't, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that are faking it till they make it, right? And I've had in the last 6 months, I probably asked 100 people that, and not one of them was willing to share with me their back office. And then I'll tell them, look, I appreciate that. I don't need to see your back office, and I don't mean to be rude, but it really doesn't matter how much money you made. But the second question I have, I really do need to know the answer to. How many people have you taught to make $100 a month? Well, I don't know. I just throw them in a group and see what comes, I'll talk to them maybe later or something, right? Because I'm the hero of my own story. What do I need if I think about it? I need a guide. And what does a guide do? A guide teaches somebody to become a hero. right? Obi-Wan Kenobi was teaching Luke to become the Jedi hero. It didn't matter that Obi-Wan Kenobi was a Jedi hero already. Luke needed to know that he could be taught by him, right? So when you're looking for a mentor, you're looking for someone to help you out and to teach you. You want to find somebody that has helped other people out. It doesn't matter how much money they've made. And I get asked it all the time. How much money do you make? Why? You think I'm giving you some? What difference does that make? But let me tell you how many people I've helped. And now I can help you because guess what? Some people only need to make an extra couple $100 a month. Some people need to make a couple thousand a month. Some people want to be millionaires. Everybody's different. So it doesn't matter how much money I make. It matters how I can teach people. And if you know that, now you can take that back to what you're doing and how you're doing your videos and learning and realize that, hey, I'm out there. I want to teach people because the more people I teach, the more people I help, the more money I can make. All right. The
I
difference.
love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, I know that you said it earlier, and I know that you said it a couple of times. But where can people find you since you're focusing on YouTube? Where can people find you on YouTube? What is your handle for YouTube
Uh, Papa Ron Deering.
on YouTube? So it's
Yeah, just if you go to youtube.com/@ Papa Ron Deering.
okay, perfect. And then how do you spell Deering?
Like, and I love this because I will always say, like the animal with the ing on the end, and people will go, "You mean DEAR?" I'm like, I don't know that animal. It's DEERING. Deer like the animal with ing on the end.
Perfect. Well,
Good.
Ron, this has been so, so helpful, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching the replay. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart because you're going to help a lot of people, including myself, right? Because I mean, I think of what I want and what I would want to hear, and me, I like saying I love it because that's what I would want to hear instead of like a big long paragraph. But I do recognize that not everybody's like me, so I really appreciate you taking the time. And as soon as I load this over to YouTube, I'll send you the raw recording so that you can have it as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you all being here and allowing me to speak into your lives, and hopefully it's helped you. And God bless you.
Yes, you as always, you were fantastic. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.